Hello everyone! Today I want to talk about the new upcoming character Yae Miko and hopefully try to help you figure out if she fits your playstyle and team compositions, so ultimately if she is worth your wishes. First I will go over her skill kit and talk about some possible build ideas, and later I'll get into synergies with other characters and team compositions. Alright, let's get into it. First of all, her normal attacks don't have anything too special to them, but let me just appreciate the animations really quick. Giving her that little ritual stick thingy, I'm sorry, I don't know what it's called, I think that's a really nice touch. Her elemental skill is a turret that you can set up to periodically attack enemies. It's very similar to Fischl's Raven Oz, and Yae can summon 3 of these simultaneously, and while summoning these she performs a little dash forward. So you have some mobility on the skill as well that might help you get out of the way of some attacks, which is especially nice for Catalyst characters in my opinion because they are often very squishy. The weird thing about this skill is though it has some elemental mastery scaling, and only the skill, only the attacks of the turrets. And since she has 3 turrets, she can probably trigger quite a few of elemental reactions in a very fast-paced manner, but I struggle to understand why the elemental burst skill was excluded from the scaling, which makes it kind of hard to predict if you want to build her on high elemental mastery like Kazuha for example. I honestly think that's not gonna be the case. Her elemental burst skill is really nice as well. It summons a lightning strike at the position of each turret, which will get destroyed in the process, but their cooldowns will also be reset, so you can just resummon them right away. And if you stack all 3 turrets on top of each other, I imagine you can deal massive damage to a single enemy by hitting it with all 3 attacks, which is also the reason why I don't think you want to build her with high elemental mastery. Like I said earlier, this skill doesn't scale off elemental mastery, so you probably want to build her with high attack and crit damage just to get this high burst damage out of the elemental burst skill. Now let's get into some build options. When I get her, I will try to make her work as a main DPS, but her turret mechanic, which allows her to deal consistent damage off-field, just screams a sub-DPS character to me. I can see her working on a high elemental mastery build, like 700 and some energy recharge, just to trigger elemental reactions over and over again, but getting artifacts like these is kind of hard. And like I said earlier, I think an attack and crit damage focused build is probably the way to go. So like I said, high attack, a crit rate, crit damage, some energy recharge. It's kind of hard to say right now. We don't know her energy cost on her elemental burst skill, so this might have to be like 180 or even higher. We don't know yet. And obviously electro damage bonus. As for weapon choices, I think a really good option will be the Withers, because obviously attack and crit damage is great, but also elemental mastery isn't too bad on her because she gets some extra damage scaling on her turrets, so she gets some value out of this as well. And obviously crit damage subsets is always nice, and it's not too hard to get. You can even get it randomly if you're lucky on the standard banner. Aside from this, I think the Mapper Mare can be quite good. It has elemental mastery substat, and you get some elemental damage for triggering elemental reactions. And this is craftable, so it's decently easy to refine, I'd say. If you're wondering about the sacrificial fragments, I don't think it's good. The base attack is kind of bad, and you don't really need this effect because you can already reset the elemental skill with the elemental burst skill. And if you have something built like the Dodocatates or an Eye of Perception for example, you could try her as a main DPS as well. And as always, if you have a 5-star Catalyst, don't even think about it, it will be your best option. As for artifacts, we already covered the desired substats earlier, so I'm not gonna go into that. But for the Elemental Mastery build, you probably just wanna go triple Elemental Mastery main stat. Otherwise, it's probably attack percentage in this slot. Unless you're lacking a lot of energy recharge, you could also build energy recharge main stat here. In this slot, always electro damage bonus and crit rate or crit damage bonus in the last slot, whichever one balances your stats better. As for the sets, I think it's very likely that she is just another Emblem of Severed Fate character, so you just set up your 3 turrets, press the elemental burst skill, and hopefully deal a lot of damage with this set. Otherwise, the Noblesse set can be an alternative. If you don't have another character running the 4-piece set effect, you can run it on her definitely. Otherwise, you could run the 2-piece set effect plus the Gladiator set, for example. Another option would be if you run her, for example, as a very niche comp in a mono Electro team with like Raiden Shogun and Sarah, you could pick something like the Thunder Soother set. So you get another 35% damage against enemies affected by Electro. And the other option, if you want to run her as a main DPS, I think a very viable option would be the Wanderer's Troop set. If her charge attacks hit decently hard, you get another 35% damage on them, and you get some Elemental Mastery to scale off your turret damage. Otherwise, I want to really make use of the Shimenawa Reminiscence set to play her as a main DPS, and it can be very energy inefficient because it consumes some energy, so you might need a lot of energy recharge on this build. But I farmed the Emblem of Severed Fate set a lot, so I got this set and I really want someone to use it on, to be quite honest. And this might work out just fine. This is the artifact set that I will try when she releases first. First, let's get into team compositions. The first slot obviously always goes to Yaya, the second one can be pretty much any healer. Let's stick to Bennett because most people prefer him for simplicity's sake. And let's operate under the assumption that Yaya will be a support character first, so you could just pick her as a superconduct enabler in physical comps with, for example, Eula or physical Rosaria, and you can pick Zhongli as your second support to lower the resistances to both electro and physical. And you could also pick Venti as a second support as a general utility pick to group up enemies. Otherwise, you could obviously trigger a lot of elemental reactions with her three turrets. For this, you could build her with an elemental mastery build, and you could pick something like Child as a main DPS to trigger Electro Charged, or something like Klee or other Pyro characters that apply a lot of Pyro. Klee with her elemental burst skill up, and Yoimiya or Yanfei just attack really fast. And with this, you could pick as your second support something like Sucrose. She buffs your team's elemental mastery, which increases the damage of your elemental reactions, and it also increases the damage of Yaya's turrets. Again, Sucrose has a lot of internal synergy with Yaya because she scales off elemental mastery. You could also pick Kazuha. It increases the elemental damage of your team and also has the Viridescent set effect, or just some random sub-DPS like Jingzhou to deal more damage and trigger other reactions like Vaporize and Electrocharge on the side. Or again, something like Zhongli. Zhongli is always good, pretty much. And now let's get into the options for Yaya as a main DPS. You could pick any Viridescent set user, for example Kazuha, Sucrose or Venti, to lower the electro resistance, and something that is a sub DPS and enables reactions, for example Zhang Ling for Overload or Jingzhou for Electrocharged. Alternatively to your Anemo character, you could also pick Zhongli to lower the resistances and also get a lot of sustain from a shield, which is especially good for Catalyst users because historically they have been very squishy. And now let's get into mono Electro teams. You can pick Zhongli again to lower the resistances or any of the Anemo characters. I think Kazuha is especially good in this team comp to also increase the electro damage. And aside from this, you could pick something like Raiden to also increase the elemental burst damage of your party. Or if you have any of these 4-star Electro characters at Constellation 6, they are all great options. Beidou increases your electro damage. Fischl has the machine gun build, who also deals a lot of damage alongside your Yai. Or the best option in my opinion would be Kujusara, who alongside her attack buff also increases the crit damage of your electro damage, which is especially good, especially if you drop your Anemo character in this case and pick something like Raiden or Beidou alongside your Yai, and you just deal a lot of electro damage this way. Alright, and with this, we made it to the end. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this helped you decide whether you want to wish for Yai or not. And stay tuned for more videos in the future. Until then, have fun and bye bye.